Hello viewers, welcome to the guest lecture series of Well Specific 2020 being arranged by Satish Dhawan Space Center Shore. Today's lecture will be given by Dr. R. Venkatraman, who is outstanding scientist at SDSC Shore. I will give you a brief about him. Dr. Venkatraman has completed his Bachelor of Engineering from Madurai Kamaraj University. He has completed his M.Tech from IIT Madras. He has also completed his doctorate in Department of Mechanical Engineering at Sri Venkateswara University, Tirupati. His career started at then Shore Center in the year 1987. He has joined as Engineer SB, and before attaining his present position of Deputy Director, he has carried out his responsibilities at various positions like Deputy Manager, Deputy General Manager and Group Director of System Reliability. During his long tenure, he was responsible for major activities like conducting 6-component test of S139 solid bracket motor, and he was in charge for the integration and preparation of solid stage booster preparations like PS0, L40, etc. And he was responsible for realization of liquid stage of L110 stage of GSLV Mark III, and he was instrumental in conceptualizing and managing of multiple launches from the 2 numbers of launch pads of SDSC Shore. Presently, he is Deputy Director, Vehicle Assembly and Launch Facilities, and he is also a Project Director of PSLV Integration Facilities to increase number of launches from the first launch pad. Also, he is the Associate Project Director of Gaganyaan mission, wherein he is in charge of launch pad, crew facilities, recovery and readaptation. Also, he is Associate Program Director of Program Steering Group for Space Transportation Systems. He has published a number of publications on various Indian and international journals. And during his professional career, he has received a number of awards and honors and membership. He has received Team Excellence Award for the year 2016, and he is a life member of various professional bodies like ISNT, MC, ASI, AESI. Over to Dr. Venkatraman for his lecture of today. Thank you.
Hello viewers, today I am going to talk about the launch complex operations and its readiness for Gaganyaan mission. You are all aware the Gaganyaan mission, Indian program of sending the humans to space, has started already. Currently we are making use of our launch vehicles and launch pad systems only to unmanned space missions like launching satellites to outer orbits and other planets. But sending a human being to space and bringing him back safely is a challenging task. Conventional launch vehicle and human rated launch vehicles, lot of improvements have to go in. In connection with this human spaceflight program, that Gaganyaan mission, the launch program is planned to take over from Sriharikota Satish Dhawan Space Center. There is no specific launch pad system or launch base infrastructure for sending the humans to space, and we cannot send in the present form. So, I am going to briefly touch upon the challenges that are involved in making use of the available launch pad systems with a human rated qualification, and also the challenges involved in case of any eventuality. Also, the most challenging task is the re-entry of the crew module and safe touchdown of the crew module and recovering them safely. I just briefly go with a few presentation about how a launch pad system looks like and how the launch pad system consists of, and what are all the modifications that we are going to take with the existing system, and how we are going to accommodate the human space program in this launch pad complex. If you look at it, Indian launch program started with the beginning of launching a sounding rocket. Normally a rocket and a launch vehicle, there is a difference. The rocket just reaches some particular altitude, but it will not get the required velocity to orbit around the earth. The sounding rockets basically were launched for studying the atmosphere and upper atmospheric conditions, weather patterns. From there, it has been evolved in going to the launch vehicle programs. Slowly, we moved to SLV-3. There is a small launch vehicle which can take 40 kgs of payload to the outer orbit, and a PSLV, subsequently the Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle, which is the workhorse for the Indian space program, and the GSLV vehicle, Geostationary Launch Vehicle, and GSLV Mark III vehicles. Each vehicle will take the spacecraft, depends upon the type of orbit it is going and the mass of the payload it is going to carry. So, the sizing of the vehicle will depends upon its propulsive power and also its capability to take the mass and the distance. So, like that, we have different varieties of launch vehicles, like a sounding rocket SRC complex where we are doing, and the SLV-3 launch vehicle, then ASLV augmented satellite launch vehicle and Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle, and the PSLV, then Mark II and Mark III vehicles. To carry on these activities in Sriharikota Satish Dhawan Space Center, we have two launch pads. That is the first launch pad. Somewhere in the year 1993 onwards, it is being operational. And the second launch pad, which we can go with the higher capacity launch vehicles like GSLV, Mark III and beyond Mark III. The first launch pad system consists of different elements like a launch pedestal, a jet deflector, a mobile service tower and assembly platforms, so that the vehicle can be integrated inside a building, and upon completion of the integration activities and all the checks completed, the entire mobile service tower, that is the building which weighs around 3,500 tons, will be moved back on a railway track. Then the launch program will continue. And these are all the salient features what we are seeing. This vehicle is integrated at launch pad. That called ILP, integrate at launch pad. And the vehicle integration will be taken up normally in the vertical mode, and we don't use any tilting system after integration. Some countries they follow horizontal integration and tilting to vertical and launching, whereas we have the integration building to carry out the integration operations. We have the set of equipments and accessories like handling cranes, required platforms to work with the different levels vertically, and they can be positioned at different levels. And coming to the mobile service tower, it is like a movable building which is having a 22 meter by 18 meter and 76 meter tall and 3,500 tons of mass, and it is having a inbuilt elevator system, handling cranes and operating platforms and doors for closing and opening. With all these things, the operation will be completed as if we are doing an integration building. Then the building is moved back after the completion of the work. So this way, launch pad we are using mainly up to the PSLV class of launch vehicles. So this launch pad cannot take the vehicles like Mark II and Mark III. Coming to the second launch pad system, here the concept is entirely different. The building is stationary. The launch vehicle built on a mobile launch pedestal. With the help of bogie system, the integrated launch vehicle will be moved from the building to the actual launch pad area, which is something around 900 meters away from the integration building. Then we will be completing all the electrical checks, pneumatic checks and propellant servicing operations using the approach facilities available at the umbilical tower area. That's called UT. Here the concept is integrate, transfer and launch, ITL concept. This is also a vertical integration and vertical transportation and vertical liftoff. These are all the elements what you are seeing the second launch pad salient items. Now operations at the launch pad, from the integration building, when the vehicle comes to the launch pad, we have to anchor the launch pedestal which is moving on the railway track on a rail track system, and it will be anchored to the pedestal. Subsequent operations will be carried out, and we will do all the conditions of the vehicle, and the checks will ensure that the vehicle is ready for liftoff. On the launch pad, when the vehicle is moved, there are a lot of operations, last minute operations like a propellant filling and the final checks, and then the launch pad will be ready for releasing the vehicle. Now what we are going to talk about is for the Gaganyaan mission, where the human space flight program is going to take place. The second launch pad has to be suitably modified and is to be improved for taking care of the manned mission requirements. What are all the challenges? Coming to the launch vehicle preparation for the Gaganyaan mission, the GSLV Mark III launch vehicle has 3 stages. 2 S200, 200 tons of solid motor strap-ons, and L110 we call is a 110 tons of liquid propellant engine. Then C25, 25 tons of cryogenic fuel filled stage. Above that, normally we will take the spacecraft along with the heat shield, that is thermal shield, what is going to protect the satellite during the atmospheric phase of ascent region, where high aerodynamic heating it will protect. So entire assembly will be completed and the entire vehicle will be moved to launch pad. So these are all the various stages of operations. This first stage consists of the 2 strap-ons of S200, which is having 3 segments. All the 3 segments will be integrated one after the other. Then both the strap-ons will be lifted and positioned on the launch pedestal. After the alignment, the launch pedestal is over. The L110 liquid stage will be brought in, and that will be assembled in between the 2 strap-ons. Subsequently, the cryogenic stage, which is having 25 tons of liquid propellant, that stage will be assembled and integrated. Then afterwards, the spacecraft along with the encapsulated the assembly we call along with the heat shield, it will be integrated over the cryogenic stage. After finishing all the integration operations and checks at the integration building, the launch vehicle will be moved to launch pad. What you are seeing in this picture is the vehicle just coming out of the integration building. After the final checks at launch pad, the vehicle will be allowed to lift off. This is how the GSLV Mark III vehicle lifts off. Coming to launch complex facilities and activities. There are 3 major categories of activities. Mechanical integration activities, the stage assembly and subsystems assembly. Then electrical checks, like whatever the sub-assembly of the staging with respect to the instrumentation and a measurement system and data system, that will be electrically checked. Then finally the checkout system. Checkout is the sequentially all the events with respect to timing, what the command they have to give, how that will work, both at the vehicle is stationary at the ground as well as the vehicle is the mission. Both places automatically the sequential operations could carry out. That is how the checkout system also will be qualified, and they are very important for the mission. Coming to the launch complex facilities, if you take, these are all the different facilities, both the first launch pad and second launch pad. Of course, though launch pads are 2, but there are certain common elements like a tracking system, control center, they are all commonly available. Some of the systems will be shared by both the launch pads depend upon the day of launch and the duration of the launch, final phase of operations, and the remaining facilities are specific to the each and every launch pad. And prior to the launch operations, all the supporting integration facilities where the flight systems are prepared, they will be thoroughly checked and qualified and certified. After the certification, after the qualification only, the integration activities will be permitted to take up the activities. Similarly, all the mechanical items will be tested to the required level with the proper margin, so that they have enough reliability and residual life for carrying out the operations. Coming to the other launch pad facilities, the handling equipments like a transporting system, handling system and other tilting equipments and fixtures all will be qualified functionally, not only for the overloading wise, also the performance wise they will be carried out, and respective committees should give clearance for proceeding further. Some of the typical operations in the integration facilities, how they are going with the sub-assemblies like nozzle and the igniter and other interstages, they are getting assembled, and they after the assembly as a sub-units they will be taken to launch pad or integration building for the further operations. Coming to Gaganyaan missions, what are all the facility improvements and new facilities that are to be realized at launch pad? That is very, very important. When I say the Gaganyaan mission, there are specific quality related things which has to be addressed both on the launch vehicle and flight system, and also the ground system, and also the servicing systems available in the ground. The difference between a conventional launch vehicle and a Gaganyaan mission, human intervention is there till the T minus 15 minutes or 30 minutes of the liftoff. So, when the crew members are supposed to reach and take their position inside the crew module, all the ground systems should be highly reliable. Whereas the conventional launch vehicles, the pad will be vacated something around 24 hours before the propellant servicing operations. Thereby, the safety aspects are not that high. Whereas the manned mission, where the human intervention is going to be there, both the crew members as well as the closeout staff, that ground support people also will be there. So, the ground systems reliability and safety has to be given topmost priority. As you are all aware, the Gaganyaan mission, in place of spacecraft, we are having 3 new elements. One is called crew module, another one is the service module, another one is the crew escape system. Because the life of the crew, safety of this crew has to be ensured every point of this mission preparation. So, as far as the ground systems are concerned, the launch pad, we have different elements which are to be augmented, which is not rightly available. In our Gaganyaan mission, it is the objective, and it is envisaged that a minimum of 2 to 3 crew members will be taken to orbit, around 300 to 350 kilometers orbit, and the number of orbits will be minimum 2 orbits to 7 days. Accordingly, the crew should have the facilities inside the cabin of the crew module, and the life support system and environmental control system all should be provided in the service module available. So, as you know, the crew, when they are getting trained from the respective training institutes, and then they come out with a certification that they are fit for flight. Crew members, when they are reaching T minus 10 days at least before the mission takeoff, they have to be properly taken care inside the launch complex. So, basically as far as the ground system is concerned, there are major elements. The launch pad crew access, that is called crew ingress and egress system we will call. It is not that simple that crew ingress egress, that when the vehicle is fully charged condition, the last minute the risk for the vehicle is very high. At that time the crew has to go and enter. Another one is, in case there is a danger sensitized in the vehicle before liftoff, there are some methods of emergency escape from the launch pad. They should come within a very shortest possible time to the safest distance, so that any unwanted or danger, if it is happening in the launch pad also, the crew safety should be ensured. Another one is qualification of the new crew systems at launch pad. As you see, the Gaganyaan mission, it is like this. The crew module is basically a living place with a crew seat, with a space suit and other things. Astronaut has to enter inside the crew module through the hatch plate at the launch pad. So, what we have to provide is the suitable approach for the crew and convenient for the crew to enter and occupy, and along with the accessories what they are going. In case there is a danger, there is a vehicle, they should be able to come out of the launch pad. How the crew safety is ensured? There are 3 different types. First mode of escape is on the pad. Suppose there is a danger right from the liftoff, the crew vehicle something danger is there and it is not going to perform as per planned, then the crew module has to be taken away from the moving vehicle or danger within no time. That is called escape motor. That we have a crew escape system consists of different types of solid motors, which will take around 4 kilometers downrange and 2 kilometers altitude. Thereby the danger is avoided so that the crew will be landing safely and they will be rescued on the later time. Second mode of abort is on-orbit abort. In the on-orbit abort also we have different philosophy. That means the crew, when the vehicle is not attained much acceleration, if it is a subsonic region and it is going with a low speed, we need more acceleration to separate the crew module. Thereby, the energy required to take the crew module should be very high. So, we have different sets of firing. Similarly, when the vehicle reaches next zone where the vehicle attained already a supersonic speed, already the crew module and crew is experiencing a high acceleration. At that time also the crew module has to be separated if any danger is there. That time the power required to separate the crew module will not be that much. We will have a smaller capacity, that's called high altitude escape system, which with a smaller power they will be taken away from the danger. Upon separation, the crew module will be separated and then they will be landing. Now coming to the safety aspects of it, there are many elements. One is the solid motor which takes the crew module away from the danger. Another one is safely touchdown. The touchdown velocity should not be very high. So there should be a deceleration system which consists of a parachute system which has to reduce the speed, reduce the velocity such a way that the touchdown velocity is not crossing 4 to 5 meters per second when it touches the water surface. Of course, Sriharikota is close to the ocean, we are expecting this water surface touching. So the deceleration system and crew escape system and crew module system all are supposed to be qualified as part of the mission requirements. As far as the launch pad requirements, we have a lot of challenges with respect to the propellant servicing system, the pneumatic servicing system, the crew access system. Everywhere we call it a fugitive emission type. That means not even a single drop of vapor or leak should allow to come out of the servicing system. Thereby, we are ensuring that it is hermetically sealed and the crew cannot expose or experience any toxic or dangerous thing in the launch pad when they experience. So, how we are going to qualify? What are the challenges in the launch pad? In addition to the ground system qualification, in the flight system, how we are going to qualify? Here you are seeing, there is a schematic, what I am saying, the second launch pad, one of the platforms, the launch pad is the umbilical tower. The umbilical tower, we have access platforms, one of the access platform from the elevator, what is available the UT side, instead of going through the UT, they have to go outside the UT, umbilical tower. Thereby, there should be a separate crew access arm. This access arm will enable the crew to enter. What you are seeing in a yellow color is the newly realized access arm. Through this, the crew has to enter inside and then occupy the seat. After the crew is accommodated inside, this arm should be separated out because the platform has to be folded back. To fold it back, this operation has to be made remotely. Because once the manual intervention is not there, then when the people have come out, there should be a remote operation. We should make it as a remotely. Just before the crew is going to enter, there is something called white room, where the crew final suit up operations, leak check of the space suit and the cleanliness and other toxic things are avoided. Such a cabin, they have to go inside and then enter. After their entry, everything should be retarded back. So these are all the things. Another one is called the emergency escape system. The emergency escape system should have the passive element. There should not be any active motor drive. So by gradient, because of the slope or the height advantage, the crew has to release the clutch or the basket, and through the basket they should come and enter into a bunker which is around 450 meters away from the spot. This is the typical MLP sequence. See, now the crew reaches the launch pad and they entered in the bubble lift. Through the bubble lift, they travel to 42.9 meter level, and the crew enters the crew access arm. Then the crew enters in the vehicle through the platform number 3. Then the crew is put inside the crew module. Then crew access arm and platform 3, they are retracted back. Coming to the crew module, we call crew module and service module put together and escape system put together, we call it as a orbital module. This orbital module preparation, we should have a separate facility where we are going to realize a new facility where the payload adapter and a crew module and a crew escape system, everything will be prepared and moved to the launch pad. Coming to the crew quarantine or crew isolation facility, we call it as a Gaganyatri Nivas. That is a place where the crew will be kept in isolation, where they will have all the facilities, because illness causing germs should not reach them and the contagious things should not reach, but at the same time crew should live in the isolation. So all these things will be taken care in the Gaganyatri Nivas, what we call is a crew staying facility. So here also the requirements are very high. The microbial things, the fungal and the bacterial and the dust particles, everything should be contained and brought down to the required level as prescribed by the standards. And also crew examination team and the crew health monitoring team, everybody will be readily available. Everything will be taken care in this facility. Okay. Then finally, on the last day, there should be a conferencing. They can meet through video mode, through their family members. They can meet the VVIPs like that. Everything will be made arranged here, and from there, crew will start their journey from this. After the suit up, initial shooting, space suit, everything over, they will be proceeding towards the launch pad. Coming to Gaganyaan monitoring facility, Sriharikota, when the vehicle is moving up, in addition to the spacecraft monitoring facility, there is a crew monitoring facility during launch pad operations, during lift-off conditions, during the mission, and also on orbit conditions. There will be a proper requirement and monitoring of the crew during the entire mission time. This is the facility where the network real-time systems will be monitoring, and there will be a backup from the ISRO Telemetry and Tracking Center and also the Satish Dhawan Space Center. Together they will watch the condition of the crew in various phases of this Gaganyaan mission. Coming to crew escape system qualification, you know very well the crew escape system consists of that a solid propellant system which is fast burning. That means they should be able to develop the very high thrust very short time, like a impulse it has to come. How to qualify the crew escape system? We have to take it to the ground and then qualify the firing. What is the amount of thrust and chamber pressure is developed, whether the thrust is enough to take the crew module mass to the required distance from the danger or not. So we have a different type of testings. We will do the horizontal testing, we will do the vertical testing, and we will do the reverse firing testing. Everything will be qualified, and afterwards the ballistic parameters of the newly developed motor will be assessed in the Sriharikota. And these are all the testing system in the ground where the motor is kept stationary and they will be fired and the required parameters will be measured, and the mission purpose assessment will be done, and any improvement is required, they will be taken back to the required designer, and these will be further strengthened and see the adequacy is achieved. These are all the motor static testing, we call it as a static testing. These are all the typical static test procedure, and we have to qualify it. Coming to the deceleration system, we have to again qualify the parachute system, what is being designed and developed. These are also indigenously developed deceleration system. To qualify the effectiveness of the deceleration system, the crew module will be taken to the particular altitude, and from there it will be dropped from the helicopter where the deceleration system will function, and we will ensure that safe touchdown of the crew module is ensured at the Sriharikota range. These are all the sequence how the crew module will be dropped from the altitude. Upon dropping, the deceleration system will open, and the drag chute and main chute should open, and then they should come and touch down. After touchdown, the separation of the parachute is very, very important. That also we should ensure that the deceleration system is working well. With this, we will qualify the parachute system is qualified, and also the fitness for the regular flight mission. These are all the tests over a period of time. The past days we completed and successfully demonstrated. This is the typical crew dropped trials when we conducted it is Sriharikota range. Coming to the another way of crew escape system is called pad abort test. What you call pad abort? Whenever there is a danger sensitized during the vehicle liftoff, just before the liftoff from the launch pad, when the vehicle is not at all having any thrust, it is stationary, then the crew has no time to come out of the emergency escape system, then there is a automatic crew escape system available. That is, the solid motors will fire automatically and the crew module will be taken out to the difference height at around 2.1 kilometer to 4 meter downrange, and the deceleration system will work. With the help of parachute, it will be touching down. Yeah, this has to be qualified in the ground. Like, the individual solid motor was qualified. Our next step is to qualify with a crew module along with the escape system alone. How we can take this crew module safely using the power generated by the solid motors, for which we have created a testing system on the ground. It's a simulator, and this will be used for positioning the crew module, and the crew module along with the escape system will be taken to a distance height. Here what you are seeing typically the test 1 what we conducted at the sounding rocket complex of Sriharikota, where the crew module alone was kept at the base, and the solid motors, which you can see the right side, is capable of taking the crew module to the required altitude and range. Coming to the other form of danger scenario, one is the pad abort test we have demonstrated successfully. Another one is the ascent phase danger, how you are going to simulate. Before going for Gaganyaan mission, anything has to be meticulously planned and qualified before putting into use. So we have to test it in a different form. Now the ascent phase abort, I told you, it is be classified into the low Mach number, that is subsonic type of thing, and also the supersonic thing. So the module has to go to and reach the particular height. To give that momentum, we need a test vehicle, a small vehicle which can carry the crew module over a height of 70 kilometers or so, and from there the escape abort will be given. How the crew module is getting separated with the help of escape motors from the moving vehicle. To demonstrate, we are going to plan a test vehicle program, which we are going to use one of the liquid engine liquid stage with 40 ton propellant will be used as a base vehicle. Over the base vehicle, the crew module will be assembled, and the crew module over that the escape motors will be assembled, and the vehicle will be allowed to lift off to some height, and beyond that the abort command will be initiated. What you are seeing is the nicely vehicle is lifting off when it is reaching to some altitude, and we are going to decelerate the system and recover the crew module. This is the typical configuration of the test vehicle what we are going to take. This work is now planned, and now we are going to do in a short span of time. So this is the typical launch pad operations after the vehicle L40 stage is positioned there, and the crew module integration will be done, the escape system will be done, and we will be filling the liquid stage with the required thrusting propellants, and the liquid stage will be lifting off first, then the crew module will be separating. Next challenging work is the recovery of the crew module. Either it is a abort mission or a regular mission or on orbit abort, the crew has to be safely recovered. It is very difficult to say that where the crew will land at the end of every orbit. We know the pad abort, they will land at least 3 to 4 kilometers from the downrange, we can be easily recovered. But during ascent phase, various conditions of the vehicle, the recovery has to be taken place entire part of the globe. That is, after the end of the first stage, they will land somewhere. At the end of second stage, the crew will be landing in another different place. And at the end of final phase of injecting the crew module into the orbit, if there is a danger, then also there is a crew service module aided recovery is possible. So every time we have to plan how to recover at different occasions or different conditions, failure modes, the probability of the crew touching down in the conditions we have to recover in the. So the recovery is also a challenge. And similarly on orbit recovery. On orbit normally we used to have the crew recovery planned landing point. After the end of the particular orbit, they will be landing to a required land. There it will be a required recovery system can be positioned. But in case of off-nominal, on orbit something is happening, there will be any place. So very difficult to exactly plan number of recovery stations throughout the mission. So we have to be very careful and see the probability of avoiding the abort taking place in a unwanted orbit. What is mainly needed? Whenever the crew touches down, there is immediate requirement is we should attach a flotation system around it, so that the crew module anyway it is metacentric, self-stable, and still the crew recovery team has to go near and then work, and they have to passivate the chemicals what are already available. Then crew hatch plate has to be taken out and the crew has to be brought out from safely, and they should be lifted back to the required land mass. Then Kurumari module after touchdown, this is the typical recovery operations what we have done near the Sriharikota coast after conducting the first pedabot test. We have used the boat service and then a flotation system, and with the net it was brought back and then lifted from the shore. These are all the typical operations what we carried out after the pedabot test 1 was successfully completed. So these are all the some of the challenges what a launch pad we are going to face in addition to the modifications and operations. The Gaganyaan mission hopefully will take place by the end of 2022, and we are all, Shar Center is gearing up with taking up the Gaganyaan program successfully from the soil. Thank you all my dear friends. It gives me a great pleasure in being with you on the occasion of the World Space Week 2020 celebration programs. Hope you understood the presentation. If any of the queries and doubts you have, you can post your comments in the YouTube comment link. Thank you.